I just like new challenges, so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun going out there, doing what I got to do, and the fact that we are up against time, we are up against, growing real fast. So that's what's exciting. That's what is the rush.
Something just came out of Berea, and Cleveland Browns fans need to hear this. This is not a rumor circulating on social media. This is not speculation from an outside analyst with no real connection to the team. This is coming from inside the building, and the message could not be clearer. The direction of this franchise has officially changed, and every single person inside that organization can feel it. The energy in Berea is different. The conversations are different. The decisions being made at every level of the organization carry a different kind of weight, because for the first time in a very long time, those decisions are being made with certainty instead of uncertainty. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, has made up his mind, and this decision is not small. It is not temporary. It is not a let's see how it plays out type of move. This is a franchise-defining commitment that could shape the next decade of Browns football. According to multiple sources within the organization, Haslam is standing firm. Shedeur Sanders is the future of the Cleveland Browns, and there is no hesitation behind that statement. That kind of confidence does not come easily in Cleveland. This franchise has lived through quarterback chaos for years. Draft picks that did not work out, big names that did not deliver, promising starts that faded under pressure. Browns fans have seen it all, and they have every reason to be cautious. But this time feels different, and the people inside the building are acting like it too. But to truly understand why this moment carries so much weight, you have to go back. You have to understand what this fan base has lived through at the quarterback position. Because this is not just a football decision. For Cleveland, this is deeply personal. This is about a city that has invested its passion, its energy, and its loyalty into a franchise that kept asking for patience at the most important position in professional football, and kept coming up short. Since 1999, when the Browns returned to the league as an expansion franchise, the team has started more than 30 different quarterbacks. 30. That number alone tells the entire story without needing any further explanation. Tim Couch, Trent Dilfer, Kelly Holcomb, Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Brandon Whedon, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson. Each one arrived carrying some level of expectation. Each one was introduced to the fan base with varying degrees of optimism. And each one, for different reasons and in different ways, did not deliver the sustained stability this franchise desperately needed. Some came in as high draft picks with massive upside. Some arrived as veterans brought in to stabilize a struggling offense. Some flashed genuine potential before injuries, inconsistency, or outside circumstances derailed their time in Cleveland. But the pattern never changed. The search never ended. And every time it looked like the revolving door might finally stop spinning, it started moving again. For over 2 decades, quarterback instability was not just a problem for the Cleveland Browns. It was the defining characteristic of the franchise. The emotional fatigue that built up over those years is real and documented. Browns fans kept showing up, kept buying tickets, kept investing emotionally in a product that repeatedly reset at the most important position in the sport. Ticket prices kept climbing. Expectations kept resetting. Energy inside the stadium started to feel different. There were empty seats that used to be filled with people who had simply run out of belief. There was hesitation where there once was pure confidence. That emotional exhaustion is not a character flaw in the fan base. It is the direct result of decades of loyalty without reward, of showing up year after year and watching the same story play out with a different name and a different number on the back of the jersey. What makes stability at quarterback so critical is not just the wins and losses it directly produces on the scoreboard. When a franchise does not have a clear, committed answer at QB1, every other decision in the organization becomes reactive and short-sighted. The front office evaluates players through an uncertain lens because the most important variable keeps changing. Coaching staffs install offensive systems without genuine long-term commitment behind them. Cap space gets misallocated chasing short-term fixes rather than building sustainable depth. Scouting resources get pulled in multiple directions. Free agency targets shift based on whoever the current quarterback happens to be. The entire organizational structure is forced to operate without a real foundation underneath it. That is exactly the cycle the Cleveland Browns have been trapped in for years. And it is precisely why what is happening right now inside that building represents something genuinely different from anything this franchise has experienced in recent memory. This is not another reset. This is not another temporary solution being dressed up as a long-term answer. The search might finally be over. And to understand the full significance of that statement, consider what it means for every department in the organization when ownership commits, truly commits, to a quarterback. The front office stops drafting quarterbacks in the first round. The coaching staff stops installing vanilla systems designed to protect a vulnerable starter. The cap structure gets built around maximizing the talent surrounding the quarterback rather than replacing him. Draft capital gets redirected toward building the kind of roster that can actually compete in January. Free agency becomes about adding proven pieces rather than gambling on upside to cover a weak spot. Every single moving part of a football organization operates more efficiently when the quarterback question is answered with conviction. Cleveland has not had that conviction in a very long time, but the language coming out of Berea right now is not cautious. It is not hedged. It is not accompanied by the usual qualifiers about competition and earning the job. Shedeur Sanders is not being positioned as someone who still needs to prove himself to keep the starting spot. He is being talked about as the centerpiece, the foundation, the player the entire organization is being built around. That is a massive shift for a franchise that has constantly been searching for stability at the most important position in sports. There is also a broader context here that cannot be ignored. The AFC is stacked. The division is competitive. The margin for error in today's NFL is razor thin, and teams that spend years at the bottom of quarterback rankings consistently find themselves watching the playoffs from home. Cleveland knows that reality better than almost any other franchise in the league, which is exactly why this organizational shift carries such urgency. This is not a franchise that can afford another 2 or 3 years of quarterback uncertainty while the rest of the conference builds and improves around them. The Browns are signaling, loudly and clearly, that they are done with that cycle. They are done cycling through starters and backups and veterans and rookies in search of an answer that never arrived. They are done making short-term decisions that push long-term success further and further down the road. Jimmy Haslam has placed his bet. The front office has aligned behind it. And now the entire organization is moving in one direction, forward, with Shedeur Sanders leading the way. For a fan base that has waited this long, that has shown up through every high and every painful low, the weight of this moment is impossible to overstate. Cleveland has waited a long time for stability under center. For once, it feels like the franchise is not hoping. It is believing. And belief, when backed by performance, changes everything. That search might finally be over. What sources inside the organization are now saying is not cautious. There is no hedging in the language coming out of Berea. There are no carefully worded statements designed to leave room for a change of direction 6 months down the road. Shedeur Sanders is not being evaluated as a temporary answer. He is not being treated as a bridge quarterback. He is being talked about as the long-term solution, the centerpiece, the player you build around. That is a massive shift for a franchise that has constantly been searching for stability at the most important position in sports. And it did not happen because of one good game or one impressive stretch of performances. It happened because Shedeur Sanders walked into one of the most pressure-filled quarterback situations in the NFL and responded with consistency, composure, and command. Haslam's commitment has been described internally as franchise-defining, not experimental. The language coming from the top of the organization has moved entirely away from evaluating options and landed firmly on building around him. That distinction matters enormously. When ownership stops searching and starts building, every other department in the organization follows. The front office stops splitting its attention. The coaching staff stops hedging its system. The entire operation locks in on one mission: put the best possible team around the quarterback and compete. General Manager Andrew Barry, operating with full support from Haslam, has begun making firm decisions about who fits this new direction and who does not. And these are not small moves. These are tone-setting decisions that are sending a direct message to every player inside that locker room. Barry understands that once you identify your quarterback, everything else has to align with him. No more mixed messages. No more half commitments. It is full investment mode. Cap space is being redirected toward reinforcing the offensive line, adding playmakers who can stretch the field, and securing the kind of defensive depth that protects leads in the fourth quarter. Players who were viewed as obstacles to team chemistry or who failed to buy into the bigger vision are no longer being protected by reputation alone. This is the NFL. It is a performance league. You either elevate the standard or you fall behind it. The Browns are showing they are done tolerating anything that slows down progress. If someone is not matching the intensity that Shedeur Sanders brings every single day, then that person becomes replaceable. That is the message being sent loud and clear from the front office straight to the locker room floor. The Browns are no longer assembling names. They are assembling alignment. That is a fundamentally different approach to roster building, and it is the kind of approach that championship organizations use when they have found their franchise cornerstone. You stop collecting talent and start collecting culture fits. You stop adding players who look good on paper and start adding players who elevate the standard around them. Every roster move Andrew Barry makes from this point forward will be filtered through one question: Does this help Shedeur Sanders win? Now, organizational confidence means absolutely nothing without on-field performance to back it up. Front offices have believed in the wrong quarterback before. Ownership has committed resources to players who ultimately could not deliver. Cleveland itself has lived that reality multiple times. So the commitment from Haslam and Barry only matters because Shedeur Sanders has been providing the kind of performances that justify it. Performances that have forced everyone inside and outside the building to pay close attention. His physical tools are legitimate and well documented. His arm strength allows him to attack every level of the field. Deep outs down the sideline. Tight window throws over the middle into contested coverage. Touch passes that drop perfectly into the back corner of the end zone. His athleticism extends plays when the pocket breaks down and turns potential sacks into completions and first downs. But what has separated him from simply being another talented young quarterback with upside is the football intelligence he is operating with at this stage of his career. That intelligence is not common. It is not something every highly recruited, highly touted quarterback arrives in the NFL possessing. It has to be developed, refined, and tested under real pressure. He is recognizing blitz packages before the snap. He is adjusting protections. He is manipulating safeties with his eyes. These are not traits you typically associate with a quarterback still in the early stages of his NFL development. These are skills that veteran quarterbacks spend years, sometimes entire careers, trying to refine. Shedeur is executing them now, consistently in real game situations against real NFL defenses that are specifically game planning to stop him. That is not accidental. That is the product of serious preparation and a football mind that processes the game at an advanced level. His performance against the Tennessee Titans served as the clearest defining moment of his early career. That game was not just another regular season matchup. There were playoff implications on the line. National media attention focused on every snap, and the kind of stakes that expose young quarterbacks who are not genuinely ready for the moment. Shedeur did not shrink from any of it. From the opening drive, he looked locked in. He diagnosed coverages before the ball was snapped. He adjusted protections when pressure threatened to collapse the pocket around him. When the Titans' disguised blitz looks to create confusion, he did not panic and rush throws into tight coverage. He reset. He trusted his reads. He delivered accurate passes in tight windows. That is advanced quarterback play. That is the kind of performance that changes how an entire organization views a player. As the clock wound down and tension built inside the stadium, Shedeur did not abandon his process in search of the big play. He stayed disciplined. He took what the defense gave him. He extended plays when necessary and got the ball out when the coverage dictated it. And when the Browns needed a clutch conversion, he delivered it without hesitation. That type of poise in a high-stakes environment cannot be manufactured. It cannot be coached into existence through film sessions and walkthroughs. It has to be internal, and Shedeur Sanders has demonstrated repeatedly that it is. A teammate, when asked directly about what it is like playing alongside Shedeur at quarterback, did not hesitate. Man, it's fun. Shedeur, you know, he's a great talent. Also, he's got a good personality. He's fun to be around. Me and him are very attentive to detail in practice. When asked whether Shedeur qualifies as a genuine leader inside the locker room, the same teammate responded, "Yeah, I think. You know, to be a quarterback one of any team, you have to have that locker room and have a voice." So, I think a lot of the guys believe in him. That locker room trust is not manufactured, and it is not the result of a title or a contract. It is earned through daily behavior, through preparation, through showing up the same way whether the cameras are on or off. Offensive linemen are fighting harder to protect him. Receivers are finishing routes stronger because they know the ball could come their way at any moment. Defensive players are playing with extra edge because they trust the offense can capitalize. When a quarterback earns respect rather than demands it, the effect spreads organically through every position group on the roster. The entire team raises its standard because the standard being set at the most visible position demands it. His development is not limited to game day, either. Coaches have praised his film study habits. He is actively building chemistry with receivers after scheduled team sessions have ended. He is refining timing, route depth, and anticipation during work that nobody is required to show up for. That type of preparation does not show up in the box score, but it absolutely shows up when the lights are brightest. Every crisp route combination, every perfectly timed back shoulder throw, every third down conversion in a hostile environment traces back to the work that happened when no one was watching. Shedeur himself, when asked about the expectations that came with entering the league, was direct. Whatever franchise drafted me, they're going to be extremely happy they made that decision. Take a team that's not so good and change it, and have instant success. That's all I've been doing for the past years of my life since I've been playing. We always wasn't in the best situation team-wise, but we always made it work. That is not empty confidence. That is a quarterback who understands exactly what he brings to a franchise. and exactly what it takes to deliver results in difficult circumstances. He doesn't just flash, he commands. And that is the difference between a quarterback who gives a franchise one good season and one who gives a franchise a foundation for the next decade. The stats are real. The poise under pressure is real. The growth happening in real time is real. The locker room belief is real. And inside Berea, the conclusion has already been reached. Shedeur Sanders is not an experiment. He is not a placeholder. He is the answer. And Jimmy Haslam has made that decision official.